You never really think about the past coming back to haunt you. You grow up. You move away. You build a life. You think you left all that childish nonsense behind. But the truth is, the past never really leaves you. It waits. It watches. It finds cracks in the life you've built, and then it slips in like smoke under a door, setting everything you love on fire. If you told me a few months ago that a stupid mistake from high school would one day blow my entire marriage to pieces, I would have laughed in your face. But here I am. Telling you the story. Trying to pick up the wreckage. It started like any other normal Friday. I was working late, like usual. Running the numbers for the quarterly report, drowning in paperwork. Jasmine, my wife, had texted me earlier that day. "Hey babe, going out with the girls tonight. Don't wait up." Red heart. No big deal. She deserved it. She worked hard too, running her small online boutique, handling customers, inventory, promotions. God knows she needed a night off. I smiled at the text, shot back a quick "have fun, love you," and went back to my spreadsheets. If only I knew then what was really happening. If only I had paid closer attention. The first real warning sign came when I got home. The house was dark. Too dark. Jasmine always left a light on for me when she went out, a small, simple thing, but it meant everything after a long day. The way she cared. The way she thought about me. But that night, nothing. Just darkness and silence. I brushed it off. Maybe she forgot. Maybe she stayed out later than usual. Maybe I was just tired and overthinking. I fed Cooper, our old golden retriever, grabbed a beer, and collapsed onto the couch, mindlessly flipping through the channels. Hours passed. No call. No text. By 2 a.m., worry gnawed at my stomach. I called her, no answer. I texted, nothing. Finally, around 2:45 a.m., I heard the front door creak open. I sat up, heart pounding. Jasmine stumbled inside, heels dangling from her fingers, hair messy, cheeks flushed. She looked different. Guilty. Startled to see me awake. "Hey, babe," she slurred slightly, forcing a bright smile. "You're up late." I stared at her. "Yeah," I said, voice low. "Was waiting for you." She laughed it off, wobbled over, and kissed me on the forehead, too quick, too light, then mumbled something about being exhausted and stumbled upstairs. I sat there long after she disappeared into the bedroom. Something wasn't right. I could feel it in my bones. But I didn't press it that night. I didn't want to be the controlling husband. The jealous husband. The insecure husband. So I shoved the doubts down and followed her up to bed. The next morning, she was back to normal. Cheerful. Loving. Kissing me on the cheek as she made pancakes, joking about her hangover. If anything, she seemed overly affectionate, like she was trying to bury something beneath all the smiles. And still, I said nothing. Because that's what trust looks like, right? You give them the benefit of the doubt. You choose to believe. Even when the knots in your stomach are screaming at you that something is wrong. It wasn't until a week later that everything started to unravel. I was cleaning out the living room, tossing old magazines, gathering empty coffee mugs, when I spotted it. A receipt. Folded up and wedged between the couch cushions. At first, I almost threw it away without looking. But something made me pause. It was from a high-end hotel downtown. A place we had never stayed at. A place Jasmine had no reason to be. And the date? Last Friday night. The night she said she was out with the girls. I sat down heavily, heart pounding. I read the charges. Room service. Champagne. A luxury suite. A lump formed in my throat. I stared at the paper, willing it to change, to morph into something innocent. But it didn't. It stayed exactly the same. Proof. Right there in my hands. I confronted her that night. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just showed her the receipt. Let her look at it. Let her feel the walls close in. At first, she tried to lie. Said it wasn't hers. Said maybe the girls booked a room to crash after a crazy night. But her voice wavered. Her hands shook. And deep down, I already knew the truth. Finally, she broke down. Tears streaming. Begging me to listen. Begging me to forgive. And then she said his name. Marcus. The moment she said it, it was like someone punched me in the gut. Marcus. I hadn't thought about him in years. We had gone to high school together. He had been quiet, smart, soft-spoken, an easy target for guys like me back then. I wasn't proud of it. The teasing, the pranks, the way we made him feel small so we could feel big. But I had grown up. Moved on. Or so I thought. Apparently, Marcus hadn't. Apparently, Marcus still remembered. And now, he had found the perfect way to get even. By taking the one thing he knew would break me. I sat there, numb, as Jasmine sobbed and clutched at me. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just kept hearing Marcus's name echoing through my mind. Over and over again. Until it blurred into white noise. The past had come for me. And it had taken everything. You think you know what heartbreak feels like. You think it's the gut punch, the screaming matches, the tears. But real heartbreak? It's quieter. It's sitting in your own living room, in the home you built together, while the woman you thought would love you forever sobs on the floor. And you feel absolutely nothing. Nothing but this hollow, echoing ache. Jasmine kept talking. Or maybe it was just noise by then. Words like mistake, regret, it meant nothing floated in the air between us, meaningless. She tried to reach for me. I flinched back. And that small, simple movement, the way I recoiled from her touch, shattered something between us that could never be put back together. She realized it too. The way her face crumpled, like she knew she had lost me the moment my body said what my mouth couldn't. I stood up slowly. My legs felt like they barely belonged to me. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even ask for more details. What was the point? I just walked upstairs, grabbed my keys, and left. I didn't know where I was going. I drove aimlessly for what felt like hours, the city lights blurring into messy smears against the windshield. Somewhere along the way, I ended up parked outside my old high school. It hadn't changed much. Same cracked parking lot. Same chipped paint. Same heavy doors that squeaked when you pushed them open. I sat there, staring at the building, memories flooding back. I remembered Marcus. Sitting alone at lunch. Reading thick books nobody else touched. Keeping his head down while we joked at his expense. We were cruel. Not out of malice, at least, not consciously. It was just easy. He was different. Quiet. Soft. Easy to push around. And high school is a vicious place for anyone who doesn't fit into the mold. Did I ever apologize? Did I ever even think about what we did to him once we threw our caps into the air and moved on with our lives? Of course not. To me, Marcus had been nothing more than a background character in my story. Forgettable. Replaceable. Not worth a second thought. Until now. Until he reached out from the shadows of our shared past. And pulled the floor out from under me. Hours passed. My phone buzzed endlessly. Texts. Missed calls. All from Jasmine. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I didn't trust myself not to say something I could never take back. Or worse, to say nothing at all. When I finally made it home, the house was dark again. Except this time, it wasn't because she forgot. It was because she wasn't there. Her car was gone. Her shoes were missing from the hallway. Only the faint scent of her perfume lingered in the air, haunting, bitter. I collapsed into bed fully dressed. Stared at the ceiling. Thought about Marcus. Thought about Jasmine. Thought about every small, thoughtless cruelty that had led me to this exact moment. Morning came too soon. Bleary-eyed, I dragged myself into the kitchen and found a note on the counter. A shaky scrawl on torn notebook paper. I'm so sorry. I'm staying at my sister's. Please call me. I crumpled it in my fist and threw it into the trash without reading it again. The next few days were a blur. Work. Sleep. Eat. Repeat. I existed more than lived. Everywhere I turned, memories of Jasmine clung to the walls like stubborn stains I couldn't scrub clean. The coffee mug she always used. The blanket she curled up under on rainy days. The photo on the mantel of us smiling on our wedding day. I hated how much I still loved her. I hated how much it hurt. One afternoon, when I could barely stand the silence anymore, I did something reckless. I pulled up Marcus's name on Facebook. I hadn't thought about him in years. Now I couldn't stop thinking about him. His profile was public. There he was, smiling confidently in a sharp suit, standing in front of a sleek office building downtown. Apparently, Marcus had done pretty well for himself. Financial analyst. Fancy apartment. Lots of friends. The kind of life you build when you've got something to prove. When you've spent years climbing out of the hole other people shoved you into. I scrolled further. A new post caught my eye. A photo uploaded just 2 days ago. A celebratory dinner at a trendy restaurant. Marcus laughing with a group of friends, and there, barely visible in the background, was Jasmine. Laughing too. Her hand resting on Marcus's arm in a way that made my stomach twist. So it hadn't been a one-time thing. It wasn't a drunken mistake, the way she tried to sell it. It was more. It was deliberate. It was personal. I slammed my laptop shut and paced the living room like a caged animal. Angry. Hurt. But more than anything, betrayed. Not just by Jasmine. But by my own past. By the careless, stupid boy I used to be, the boy who thought he could treat people like nothing and walk away without consequences. I wanted to hate Marcus. I really did. But deep down, part of me understood. If the roles were reversed, would I have done the same? Maybe not. But I couldn't pretend I didn't deserve some kind of reckoning. And Marcus? He had delivered it. With surgical precision. Still. Understanding didn't make the pain any easier to swallow. That night, I sat in the dark, nursing a whiskey glass in my hand, and made a decision. I needed answers. Not just from Jasmine. But from Marcus too. I needed to know why. I needed to face the ghost I helped create. Even if it tore me apart. And so, with my heart hammering in my chest, I opened my laptop again. And sent Marcus a message. Just 4 words. Simple. Direct. We need to talk. When Marcus replied, it was short. Clipped. Calculated. Tomorrow. 7 p.m. Cornerstone Cafe. No questions. No apologies. No hesitation. It felt like a business transaction. Like he was agreeing to close a deal rather than meet the man whose life he'd helped blow apart. Maybe that's exactly how he saw it. All the next day, my nerves were a raw, exposed wire. I couldn't concentrate at work. Couldn't eat. Couldn't think about anything except what was waiting for me at 7 p.m. By the time I pulled into the parking lot of Cornerstone Cafe, my hands were shaking. It was a cozy little place, brick walls, fairy lights strung around the windows, indie music drifting softly into the evening air. The kind of place Jasmine used to drag me to on lazy Sunday mornings when life still felt simple. The irony twisted like a knife. Marcus was already there. sitting at a table by the window, nursing a black coffee. He saw me the second I walked in. No smile. No nod. Just a steady, unblinking stare. I crossed the room like a man walking to the gallows and slid into the chair across from him. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The silence between us buzzed like static. Finally, Marcus set his coffee down and leaned back in his chair. His face was different from what I remembered. Sharper. Colder. More composed. The boy we used to tease was gone. In his place was a man who looked like he could command a boardroom, or destroy you with a single glance. Maybe both. I didn't come here to fight, I said stiffly. Marcus arched an eyebrow. Good. You'd lose. The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile, almost a dare. I forced my fists to unclench under the table. I just want to understand, I said. Marcus took a slow sip of coffee, studying me like he was deciding whether I was worth the effort. You want the truth? He asked finally. Yeah, I said. Even if it burned. Fine, he said. He set the coffee down again and leaned forward, folding his hands together. You treated me like dirt in high school. You and your friends. Every single day. You made sure I knew exactly where I stood. You humiliated me. Laughed at me. Made me feel like less than nothing. His voice was calm. Controlled. But his eyes burned. And you know what? I believed it. For years. I believed I wasn't good enough for anything better. I let you own that piece of me. A lump rose in my throat. I tried to speak, but Marcus held up a hand. I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad, he said. I don't care about your guilt. That's your problem. He leaned closer. I just want you to understand, when Jasmine smiled at me, when she looked at me like I mattered, it wasn't about revenge. He paused. It was about finally taking something back. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. He wasn't gloating. He wasn't angry. He was just stating facts. Like he had already made peace with everything he did. And I was the one stuck drowning in the wreckage. Did you love her? I asked before I could stop myself. Marcus tilted his head, considering. I liked her, he said. She's smart. Funny. Beautiful. She deserved better than you. The words hit like a slap. And you, he added. You never deserved her in the first place. I wanted to argue. Wanted to defend myself. Wanted to scream that whatever I had done as a stupid teenager shouldn't define me now. But deep down, I wasn't sure I believed it. Marcus stood up, tossing a few bills on the table to cover his coffee. He paused, looking down at me one last time. You think this is the end of the story, he said quietly. But it's not. He smiled, a real one this time. Small. Sharp. Triumphant. You're just getting started. Then he turned and walked out into the night, leaving me alone with nothing but the bitter taste of truth in my mouth. I sat there for a long time. Long after my coffee had gone cold. Long after the cafe started turning off lights and stacking chairs. I sat there trying to stitch together the broken pieces of my life, realizing I didn't even know where to start. By the time I made it home, the weight of everything crashed down on me. I stumbled into the house, tripping over the same welcome mat we picked out together. Dropped my keys onto the counter where her note still sat, crumpled but not forgotten. The house was silent. Too silent. I found myself wandering into the bedroom. Jasmine's scent still clung to the sheets. I collapsed onto the bed, buried my face in the pillow, and for the first time since I found that receipt, I cried. Not the kind of crying you can wipe away with the back of your hand. Not the kind of crying you can drink or fight or pretend doesn't exist. Real, body-shaking sobs that tore out of me like a dam breaking. Everything hurt. My heart. My pride. My memories. Even my past, the version of me that thought he could outrun the damage he caused, was breaking apart under the weight of it all. I cried until there was nothing left inside me but exhaustion. And then, silence. Somewhere deep in the night, my phone buzzed. A text from Jasmine. Simple. Hopeful. Can we talk? I stared at the screen, the blue light painting my face in the darkness. Could we? Was there even anything left to say? I didn't know. But I knew I couldn't avoid it forever. I took a deep, shuddering breath. And replied. Tomorrow. 7 p.m. Same cafe. I arrived at Cornerstone Cafe earlier than planned. I needed time to breathe, to prepare myself for whatever was about to unfold. The evening air was cool, a sharp contrast to the heat that had been building inside me all day. The knots in my stomach were tighter than ever before. As I stepped inside, the cafe felt almost too familiar. The same tables. The same smell of freshly brewed coffee. The same low hum of conversation. But today, it felt like an entirely different place. A place where everything I thought I knew was about to fall apart. Jasmine was already sitting at a table near the back. She looked beautiful as always, her dark hair falling in loose waves around her shoulders. Her eyes were tired, but there was still a softness to her expression. It hit me then how much I had missed her. How much I still loved her, despite everything. But that love was complicated now. Torn apart by secrets, lies, and betrayals. I approached her slowly, not sure what to say. What could I say? She stood up when she saw me, her smile hesitant. Hey, she said softly, her voice trembling slightly. Hey, I replied, sitting down opposite her. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on me, suffocating me. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. The silence stretched out between us, heavy and suffocating. Finally, Jasmine broke the silence. I'm sorry, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I know I've hurt you, and I don't know how to fix it. The words hit harder than I expected. I had heard her apologize before. But this time, it felt different. Genuine. Like she was finally confronting the truth. I leaned back in my chair, trying to steady my breath. How did this happen, Jasmine? The question burned like fire. How did we get here? She closed her eyes, her hand trembling as she picked up her coffee cup. For a long time, she didn't say anything. Finally, she spoke, her voice cracking. It started so long ago, she said. You know how I always felt, like you didn't really see me? Like I was just there. I didn't feel like I mattered to you anymore. I opened my mouth to respond, but she held up a hand, silencing me. You were always busy. Always distracted. And when I needed you the most, when I was struggling with things, you weren't there. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. And then Marcus, he was there. He listened. He cared. He made me feel seen again. It was like a punch to the gut. A part of me had always suspected it. But hearing it out loud, hearing her admit it, made it real. I fought to keep my voice steady, but it cracked anyway. So, you slept with him, because he listened? I asked, my words sharp. Is that all it was? Jasmine flinched, her face twisting in pain. No, she said quickly. It wasn't just that. I didn't want it to happen, but it did. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. I could see the guilt in her eyes, but it wasn't enough. Not for me. Not after everything. But why, Jasmine? Why didn't you come to me? I asked, my voice low. Why didn't you talk to me before it went this far? She shook her head, a tear escaping down her cheek. I was scared. Scared that you'd never listen, that you'd just brush me off like you always did. So when he said all the things I needed to hear, I didn't know how to stop it. I let out a breath, my hands clenched tightly on the edge of the table. So, what now? I asked, trying to sound calm, but the anger was bubbling under the surface. Do you think we can just go back to how things were? Like nothing happened? Her eyes widened in disbelief. I don't know, she whispered. I wish I could take it all back, but I can't. I've hurt you in ways that I can never undo. But I love you. I still love you, and I want to fix this. If you'll let me. Her words were desperate. But they weren't enough. The truth was, I didn't know if I could forgive her. I didn't know if I could look at her the same way again. The man I was before this moment, the man who trusted her, who believed in her, that man was gone. Destroyed by one act of betrayal. I stood up abruptly, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. I couldn't sit there anymore. I don't know if I can, Jasmine, I said, my voice tight with emotion. I don't know if I can look past this. I don't know if I can trust you again. Her face fell, but she didn't move. She didn't beg. She just sat there, silent. I turned to leave, but stopped halfway to the door. I couldn't just walk away without saying something more. I hope you find what you're looking for, I said quietly, not turning around to look at her. But I can't be the one to give it to you. And then, without another word, I walked out of the cafe. Into the cold, dark night. I felt like I was walking through a fog. The world was blurry, distorted. Nothing felt real. My head was spinning with everything I had just learned. With everything I had just lost. I didn't know where I was going. All I knew was that I couldn't go home. Not yet. The night swallowed me whole as I kept walking, trying to outrun the reality of what had just happened. But the truth always catches up to you. And, deep down, I knew I would have to face it eventually. I spent the next few days in a haze. Sleep came and went in fits, my mind running a mile a minute. Every time I closed my eyes, images of Jasmine and Marcus kept flashing before me. Their faces, their smiles, the moments they shared, it all felt like a betrayal so deep it was hard to breathe without feeling suffocated. I didn't know what I wanted anymore. I didn't know if I even wanted to fix this. Or if there was anything worth saving. I had gone through the motions, went to work, pretended everything was fine, but inside, I was falling apart. Every call I received, every email I read, felt like a reminder that nothing would ever be the same. Jasmine had tried reaching out to me. She sent texts. She called. She left messages. But I couldn't bring myself to respond. How could I? The anger was still there. But there was something else too, something I hadn't expected. Deep down, I was scared. Scared of losing her, scared of what my life would look like without her in it. But that fear, it didn't make the hurt go away. It didn't erase the truth. One afternoon, as I walked to my car after work, I saw Marcus. He was standing across the parking lot, leaning against his car. He looked up as he saw me approach, his expression unreadable. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice calm but tinged with something I couldn't quite place. I hesitated for a moment, but then nodded. I had no idea what he wanted, but I knew I couldn't avoid this forever. We walked together to a nearby bench, and he sat down first. I stood in front of him, trying to keep my composure, but it was harder than I thought. "I didn't want it to happen, man," Marcus said quietly, his eyes meeting mine. "I swear, I didn't. But it did." I couldn't bring myself to speak right away. I just stared at him, trying to process what he was saying. "Jasmine, she's not the woman I thought she was," Marcus continued. "I never wanted to hurt you. But you need to understand, we had something. And I think you know that. You've seen the way she looked at me. The way we connected." The words stung, but they weren't a surprise. I had known it all along. I had seen the way they looked at each other, the way she lit up when he was around. I had ignored it, hoping it was all in my head. "I know I've messed up," Marcus said, his voice quieter now. "But I didn't force her into anything. She made her choices. And I made mine." I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to say everything I had been holding back. But there was a strange calmness inside me. A numbness. "I don't know what you expect me to say," I said, my voice rough. "You've already hurt me more than you know. I don't think there's anything left to say." Marcus looked at me for a long moment, as if weighing something in his mind. Finally, he stood up and faced me. "I just want you to know that I didn't mean for it to go this far," he said quietly. "But if it helps, I regret it." I nodded, but it didn't change anything. It didn't change the fact that my life had been shattered. It didn't change the fact that Jasmine had betrayed me in the worst way possible. I left him standing there, feeling more alone than I had ever felt before. The next day, I finally spoke to Jasmine. It wasn't easy, but I knew it was time. We needed closure, whether it meant moving forward or parting ways forever. She came over to my apartment that evening. Her eyes were red, and I could tell she had been crying. She didn't say anything as she walked in, just stood there, waiting for me to speak. I looked at her for a long time, trying to find the words. It was hard to breathe, hard to think clearly. "I don't know how to fix this, Jasmine," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I don't know if I can forgive you." She nodded slowly, as if she had been expecting this. "I understand," she said softly. "I've hurt you in a way that can't be undone." I sat down on the couch, running a hand through my hair. This was it. The moment of truth. "I don't think I can move past this," I said, my voice cracking with emotion. "I don't think I can trust you again. Not after everything." Her face fell. Tears started to well up in her eyes, but she didn't try to stop them. "I don't want to lose you," she said through her tears. "I love you. I've always loved you. Please don't do this." "I'm sorry," I whispered, feeling a sharp pain in my chest. "But I don't know if I can love you the same way anymore." I could see the pain in her eyes, the realization that we were both standing on the edge of something irreversible. She didn't say anything else. She just walked out, leaving me standing in the silence of my own broken heart. And just like that, my world had changed forever. The woman I had loved, the woman I thought I knew, was gone. And so was the life I had built with her. The hardest part wasn't walking away. It wasn't even the betrayal. It was the silence that followed, the space between us that was now too vast to bridge. And as I sat there, in the quiet of my apartment, I realized that this was the end. There was no coming back from this. No fixing it. No rebuilding what had been destroyed. But maybe, in the end, that was the only way forward. To accept the truth. And start over.